So I don't think I've done one of these in a long time. I think I did like a time lapse maybe, but not a full video. This is making it look like I have weird hair or something. So what I kind of wanted to do is show how I break in pointe shoes. I don't have a fancy like person to help get cool shots of these, so I'll do the best I can. So basically with pointe shoes, like we have to break them in individually because everybody's feet are different. The pointe shoes come very standard, but no two people have like the same exact feet. Even then, sometimes one of your feet is different than the other. Like I have one foot that arches a lot more than the other. Totally normal, but you have to make your shoes work for you, because in ballet, it's really important for the lines of the body and the lines of the feet to look seamless. So you don't want like a shoe that's maybe gonna look like a box on the end of your foot. You want the shoe to highlight your foot as best you can, but also make it functional for you to dance. So when you get a pair of pointe shoes, they come like this. I don't think I've bent these already, but so they come just like this, unsewn, just a pair together. There's no right and left, so you determine which ones, and usually I'll put them on and kind of determine, because they are handmade, so I'll put them on and kind of determine which one feels the best on which foot. And then, so this is an old dead beat up pair of these. I have two pairs I need to sew right now of my two shoe styles just because they're dying and I need to use them because I'm doing a lot of at-home classes right now and strengthening. So this is my old pair, so as you can see I did a lot. Darning the tips. These more, I noticed, and I did put jet glue in them to try and make them last longer, which is like a hardening paste you can put in them, but it's more in the tips here. So when a pointe shoe is dying at the end of its life, it's either going to die in the box here where it gets really soft because it's a lot of just material like paper mache kind of type material of like leather and cardboard and burlap and satin all together, and eventually over time it does wear down, especially the more you're dancing, the more you're sweating, things like that. That plus the shank here, which is the part that supports your foot, will eventually wear out. This pair, it's not the shank for me, it's actually the box that wore out first, and it started to get really soft, so I could feel the floor with my toes to the point that it was painful. So that's not fun. And when I tried to glue them eventually, like the glue held for a few days, and then it's kind of like it didn't really do much after that, and now it's actually pushing me off the box. So you want to, when you're on pointe, you want to be flat. You don't want to be back like this, and you really don't want to be over either. You kind of want to be flat on your box. So that's like the goal with pointe. And I felt like after I put the glue on, it was kind of pushing me off to the side and things because it was kind of molding in a weird way. So these are not working for me anymore. My other pair is the pair I use the most, which we're having supply issues with, is the Suffolk Sonnet. Those are my Freeds from when I got in London, and I really like them, but if you buy them here, they're like twice as expensive as when you get them in London. So once I run through my stock that I bought when I was in London, which is 2 more pairs, I probably won't use those anymore just because they're more expensive. Then they end up being about the same price as these, which are my normal shoes, which Suffolk is having a lot of trouble producing at the moment for some reason. So I've gotten them when I can. I'm also like in between sizes in these, so I kind of have to do a lot more to these too. So this is my dead pair of these. In this case, it's actually the shank kind of gave out for me. Now some people can dance on a much more dead shank than I can. I cannot because I'm not strong enough to do that. So it all depends on like the strength of your feet and the flexibility of your feet too. So I have a pair of Freeds to sew, and I have a pair of Suffolks to sew. So depending on the shoe, it depends on what all I need to do to it. So like if I wear, and I have a lot of shoes as you all know, if I do wear gainers, which are a not traditional shoe, these are made more of plastic and polymer, so they don't actually break down the same way, but they don't fit the feet the same. So I like them, but I've never found one that really fit my feet that well. So these don't need like any breaking down. You can't really, because they're made of different materials. They don't lose their shape. They don't really break down. They just the satin starts coming off when they break down, which you would think would be ideal, but some dancers, it's a preference of what type of shoe you like to wear and how they look on your feet. As much as I like gainers and the idea, they are way more expensive because they're supposed to last longer, but they also just don't look as nice on my feet. So I personally have very short toes, which means that I have to get shoes that come lower in this part, which narrows my options down a lot. I also have compressible feet, which is pretty normal in ballet, which means like when you're standing flat, your foot is wider than when it goes up on pointe. So like my foot is flat and then I go up on pointe and it like narrows a lot. So then I need a narrower box, this part here, which also limits my options and makes it harder because the narrower your box, the less you have to stand on and turn on and balance on, and I'm not great at that yet, so it's kind of like a balancing act of finding the perfect shoe, which I'm still working on, although I have to say I think this Suffolk shoe is pretty much it. This is the Sonnet. And as far as my Freeds, these are, I don't actually know, I don't remember. I think these are the classic Pro 90s, maybe. It says Deep Vamp, which is interesting. And these are Fishmaker. So what I do first, if I'm doing the Freeds, so they're very stiff, so what I'll do is I will step on the box with my heels, because you kind of want to flatten them out. They're very, I actually might have already done it to this pair. They're kind of like wide at the top, so I will step on them with my heel, and yes, they are supposed to crunch. It's actually very satisfying. And I actually will also do that with the Suffolks as well, just because, same thing. You want to flatten the box. There we go. Much flatter. I like it. All right. That looks better. Then I will bend the shank, and you are going to think you're breaking it. You are not. Bend it in half this way. Bend it in half this way. Same with this one. There we go. Now it is much more arched, which fits my foot better. Sometimes too, what I will do, this pair, I might, oh, yep, I need to do it a little bit. So inside there is all of this material. So what I need to do, there's a little hook hanging out here, so I need to pull that little nail out because that would be unpleasant if I got that in my foot. So a little nail out. And then I personally will cut down this part of the shank here, the middle part, because I want it to bend with my foot a little more. So I am going to cut that out here. I happen to know in these shoes kind of where my arch lines up, so I don't need to measure it, but normally you would measure it with your arch. So now lines up even better. And then I will do that with this shoe as well. Take the nail out. Oh, yeah, it's in the shoe still. Hopefully that's gonna be fun to get out. It's funny, you pay a lot of money for these shoes to then spend all this time and effort just ripping them to shreds so that they look nice on your feet. And Freeds especially are very soft shoes. They are not going to last as long as others. Haha, there we go. Oh, my scissors are magnetic. Great. And I'm going to cut this little part in here. Okay, so my other last pair of these that I have from when I went to England. So I'll put these on to show you straight out of the box if I don't do a single thing to them, or bag. So you can already see too, like, this shoe that I flattened is a lot flatter than this one that I haven't touched, which makes a big difference. So, put all of the toe pads on. I usually will put toe pads and then I put little gel squares on my toes to protect them, but right now I'm just putting the shoes on just to do this, so. So these are not going to look great on me when I first put them on. That is the whole point of why we have to break them in. I already don't have good feet for ballet, which means my feet do not arch and I have like no instep or ankle mobility. So I have to try a lot harder to get all the way over my box. These are straight out of the box. I have done nothing to them. They're not bad, but they're not great. All right. The other ones. There's the sides so I remember which ones are which. These I already marked as left and right, so I already know which one's going to go on which foot. Oh, these feel so comfortable already. And I'm getting much more over the box. They're still not perfect. But again, I don't have great feet, so you also want to be able to move through the demi-pointe, which is this section right here. So you have to bend them there to get them to bend, which right now I don't have elastics or anything holding them on, so that's part of it too. So now for the Suffolks, I have to do a little different things to them. So I already stepped on them, bending them back and forth. These are actually already 3/4, which means that little piece that I took out of those should already be gone out of here, and it is. So there isn't one in here. It is further down here. It starts about down here, which is where I would need it anyway. I could actually probably do it a little lower, but that's okay. Oh, so these I already did the one trick that I need to do in my Suffolks right now until I can maybe get a custom shoe. Basically the shoe length is too short for me, but if I get a longer shoe, even a half size, this part, which I mentioned I need it to be lower for my short toes, gets to the point that it's just too long and the shoes pull me back off the box, which is not good. Because I've tried that size and it doesn't work. So basically I need them to make me a longer shoe with this short front part, which is called the vamp. So anyway, what I do to make them fit a little better is I cut, so there's layers of satin or layers of lining inside, and I cut this layer on both sides so that it like makes it stretch just a little more. I will also pull the drawstring out. No, I don't. Oh, weird, I didn't pull out of this pair. I thought I normally do. But I don't usually pull the drawstring really tight in these shoes because they're already made really tight on me as it is. I will also put some water right around here on the sides to soften these wings, and will also make it just a little bit stretchier for me too. So, and I'll still bend them a little bit too, just because I want them to be softer. I don't break shoes that fast normally, so I'm not worried that I'm going to kill the shoes by bending it. That's not going to happen. So these are the Suffolks, which are my favorite shoe. I can feel my toes are super squished in this left shoe, which, like I said, will get better as I wear them down. But maybe you can see also why I like these more than the Freeds. They also have a little bit wider of a platform to balance on. But so the next thing I will do is sew the shoes. Now, if I have not had to do this because I have not worn point shoes in a show, in an actual show. I've worn them in recitals, but not in an actual show. If you have to wear them in actual shows, you do want the box to be softer. So like you'll bang them. I'm not gonna do it because my neighbors are downstairs. But you'll bang the tips of them out like on the floor, on cement, things like that, just to make them softer. It softens just this little part down here. These are probably already, yeah, Freeds generally are softer in general, so that's also why people wear them. They're very light. You don't feel like you have much going on there. The other thing, so on Freeds, I do generally darn around the tips here. Because they're handmade, they're not always completely even, so you want them to stand up. So like this shoe, if I were to set it on the ground here, it's not completely flat that it's going to stand up. Whereas this one with my darning, well, not now that it's been worn down, but at first it did stand up. So basically I will usually do that. That takes a while. I'm not going to show you guys how I do that. I'm also not going to show you how I sew the shoes because that seems a little ridiculous too. Basically, I put one elastic around towards the heel because it helps hold it onto my heel. I sometimes will sew it further down here because it helps hold the heel on even more. And then I will sew one ribbon on the side here and the other ribbon on the other side right about where my arch is, so it pulls your shoe up right at your arch. That's all I do as far as sewing. With the Freeds, I will also score the bottom, or sand down the bottom. So basically the bottom, while it looks very pretty and everything, is very like not flat. So I will use like a X-Acto knife and take down the sides. So be careful if you're doing this, but basically I will like just shave the sides down slowly so that it will start to flatten the shoe out, so that when I'm standing on flat, like for center work and stuff, I'm not falling over trying to stand flat. That is the one really nice thing about gainers, is like they are completely flat because they have like they're arched right now, but if you were to stand on that is a flat shoe, you are not gonna wobble, which is great. But like I said, I kind of do prefer a more traditional shoe. So I will scrape the sides down much as I need to. I might put them on, test out how much this is working, do more. So I'll take the sides down, and then I've got my stitch kit and my ribbons and elastic to sew both of these, and that's how they'll look. So these ones, and also with the Suffolks, I do have to sew on the outside because since my shoes are too tight on me right now, I find that if I sew the outside of the heel, which doesn't look as nice, but I think if I sew it out here, it doesn't hurt as badly as if I sew it on the inside of my shoe. It really actually hurts to wear these shoes because they're so tight. So that's mostly what I do. Everybody has a different way of doing their point shoes, completely different ways depending on what you need. Even I, for each different shoe, have different things I need to do. Like, these are fairly flat on the bottom. I could score them down just on sides, but I don't. I don't need to darn them because they are very flat. Like if I stand the, okay, it's actually not standing up, which is funny, but they're just very flat. I'm not concerned, whereas Freeds sometimes have a little bit of a variation to the flatness on the tip. I don't know. But either way, if you're going to dance on something slippery, you can add a little bit of water to your shoes. I wouldn't add much because that can break the shoes down if they're a traditional shoe. You can add a little bit of hairspray to the bottom of your shoes, or what most dancers use, but when you're at home you kind of don't want to as much, is rosin, which is like a sticky, it's a rock that you would crush under your shoe, and you'll crush bits of it into like the sides and the tip and then the heel. You can also put it on your tights to help hold the heel on and then put your shoe on. So that's about it. If you have any questions, let me know, because I've had a lot of people like be like, what do you do, because you're a dancer, like mostly like friends and family, so I thought I would do this to show. I just wish I had a more cinematic way of filming this, but being by myself in my apartment, I don't, so. But yeah, point shoes are not cheap either. They're like, and I will, if I'm trying a new pair or something, obviously I'll go try it on, or I'll try and buy it really cheap off eBay just to try the shoe, and then if I like it, I can go get the shoe. But it's really nice to look on eBay for shoes sometimes when you need them and you don't want to spend, like a cheap shoe is like $65 to $70 cheap shoe. Gainers, the expensive ones I'm talking about, are like $130 a pair, but they are meant to last longer. Like, so if I wear, like these Freeds I've worn since I went to London, which was in September. I haven't worn these exclusively though, so that's hard for me to say, but they did start getting soft fairly quickly. Same with my Suffolks, are like the only shoes I wear most of the time. They did get really beat up. There are also missing parts in the bottom here, which at the moment is not so much that it's a problem, but eventually that could be a problem too. I would say I don't go through shoes that often, but I've been trying to find the right shoe for me because I have weird feet. So there's that. And then I have molded toe pads that I still won't give up my first pair. That's really disgusting right now, and I've had to tape the tops to give them more support, but I've molded other pairs and they haven't turned out the same, so I just keep using the same ones for now until they die. But that's it. That's all I do to my shoes. So I realized today when I went to go put my point shoes on that I sewed, I forgot to mention something that is important, is how we sew, or not sew, wow, how we tie point shoes and put them on. Because it's not what people think. So I'm going to put my toe pad on. Usually I'll put a little gel block in there too, but I'm just putting them on right now for this, so I'm not going to. Put them in. Of course, this is my smaller, or my larger foot, so my shoe's a little tighter. Get my elastic right. Pull my drawstrings to where I want them. Double knot them. You don't tie them in a bow in the front, you tuck them in, or cut them off and tuck them in, but then you risk the chance of them being lost in the shoe, so I like to leave them. So, these do not go like this. This is not how you tie a ballet shoe. It's probably how Barbie does it, but it's not how you tie one. So, you want it to pull up around your arch. You're gonna tie it around. You're gonna tie the outside one afterwards. And then tie them on the inside of your ankle, because that's, you don't want to tie them on the back because it hurts your Achilles tendon, and on the front would just look bad, because then you're going to tuck the knot underneath so that it looks nice and flat. So, and if you were dancing at a performance, you might sew this so that it won't come undone. So now they look like this after I've sewn them. Yay!